More phone calls coming up. 877-3DP Show. John Calipari, top of next hour. Bill Simmons, his documentary on the Celtics. Jay Bilas of the Mothership. He played under Coach K, and he also coached with him, and won a couple of titles as an assistant coach with Duke, and, of course, Mothership's lead college basketball analyst. There hasn't been much madness here, Jay. We need another word. March what for you so far with this tournament?
It's March. It's happened before, but people don't seem to remember it. Like, this is not the first time we've had a tournament quite like this. It's happened many times before, but, you know, in this age of facile interpretation, we're going to immediately blame NIL and the transfer portal because we didn't have a mid-major breakthrough. We didn't have as many buzzer beaters as one can remember in another year. But, you know, you go back to 2008, all four number one seeds made it to the Final Four in San Antonio. And so what are we to take from that? Or 7 years ago, we had the same number of major conference teams break through versus mid-majors. What are we to take from that? You know, one data point does not make a trend. And if we have this 5 years in a row or 5 out of 6, then I think we can talk about it. But right now, it's just another year.
Was that traveling at the end of the Maryland game?
I didn't think so when I looked at it live. As you know, you get 2 steps after you complete the gather, and it looked fine to me. But if we're going to look at it like the Zapruder film, like what I always look at when I hear officials or supervisors talk about a call afterwards and basically justify it and say, okay, this was the right call given this circumstance. What I always ask them is, all right, if it had been called the other way, would you say that was a bad call? And I think if it were a call to travel, all of the supervisors and people who are on television critiquing the officials, former officials, they would have justified the call as a travel too. It's one of those calls.
But then we would have had an underdog with Colorado State making the Sweet 16, which leads me to, is Arkansas a feel-good story? Are they an underdog?
Not really. I mean, and that's sort of the thing when you talk about double-digit seeds. Like last year, we had a double-digit seed make the Final Four in NC State. You really think an ACC team is an underdog or a Cinderella? It depends on your definition of it. Arkansas, if they were healthy all year long, they would not have been a 10 seed. They weren't healthy. So I think what Calipari has done is frankly amazing. They've been absent their leading scorer, Duthero, who transferred in with Cal from Kentucky. Boogie Fland, their hotshot freshman, who was their leading scorer until about 2 months ago when he injured his hand, just came back. He's only played like 1 or 2 games. It's remarkable, and they've played better over the last 10 or 11 games just to make the tournament. And for them to give up 28 offensive rebounds and only make 2 threes against St. John's and win. I'm still stunned by that. It's kind of a refuse to lose back to UMass Calipari that we're seeing.
I was curious about Rick Pitino. He got a little sharp with a reporter saying, why was R.J. Lewis on the bench the last 5 minutes? And Rick was saying, you're basically baiting me here. But why was the Big East Player of the Year, even though he was struggling shooting, he's still your best player. Why was he on the bench, for those final 5 minutes?
I mean, he was clearly in a funk, and he couldn't make a shot and was not playing well. So I don't know exactly what Rick's reasoning was. My issue watching the game was I was like, why are you not throwing the ball inside to Zubiedja for him? Like, he's killing these guys, and you can't make a perimeter shot. They really haven't done that all year, and it was pretty clear it wasn't going to magically appear in the last 5 minutes. But, Arkansas had some significant foul trouble. Zvonimir Ivisic fouled out with, 6-7 minutes to go. And Jonas Adu had 4 fouls, like go into him and let him bull his way to the basket. He had 23 points, and he was so hard to stop. But, my coaching place in the Hall of Fame has not been secured yet. Rick says.
Should Danny Hurley change?
Well, he should change some things. Yeah. I think the way he comports himself on the sideline should change. And I think some of the things that he says after a game, like what we saw in the hallway, was that a huge deal? No. But is it what you should do? I think the answer is no, too. And look, I get it that the response is, well, that's just who he is. I tend to think that's an excuse for bad behavior. It's not a crime. It's not a big deal. So on one hand, you go, well, we don't have any characters in the game anymore, and he is clearly a character. But would it be so bad if he was just kind of superstitious and this crazy competitor and wears like superhero socks and all that stuff, and we cut out the other stuff? I mean, yeah, I think that would be okay. I don't know that the way he talks to officials actually benefits him. I know the officials don't care for it, because when I was critical of Danny earlier in the year, that was probably the first time in my lifetime officials were like, hey, keep going. Usually they don't like what I say.
Yeah, but Bob Knight couldn't change. Coach K probably didn't change. I mean, these guys are who they are. At some point, that's who they're going to be. Doesn't mean, it was the detriment of Bob Knight. Coach K was a fiery guy. I don't know if Danny Hurley can change. He's been this way since he was at Wagner and Rhode Island. And it's not like, hey, we're the bullies on the block. I'm going to dictate what college basketball is all about. Feels like he was this way a long time ago.
Oh, I'm not arguing that. And I'm not saying that maybe he can't change. If he can't, then don't worry about it. But I would think maturity would be helpful in these situations. Like, I just don't believe, like, and I used to talk to Knight about this, like when he would embarrass a reporter, because I saw him at clinics when an unprepared, lazy coach would ask him a stupid question, and he would educate that coach and be very somewhat what I would call empathetic, I guess. Mm-hmm. Then a reporter asked him a question that he thought was a stupid question, and he would embarrass the reporter. And I said, I was with him one time at Texas Tech, and I said, why do you do that? Like, why don't you just, like, this guy was probably covering a state fair and then a high school football game, and then he's got to come cover you. Like, why don't you help him out and educate him? And he goes, I'm too deep into I just can't. And I was like, yeah, you can. And he didn't want to. And with the one thing that I think is interesting about coaches is they love to talk about accountability, and rightfully so. Accountability is important, but they make excuses with regard to themselves at times. And kind of what you hear from Danny, some of it is reasons, and then other parts are excuses. And my thing would be just get rid of the excuses and make the if you're saying I shouldn't have done this, then stop doing it. That's okay. Like, we can do that. He can still be fiery and a competitor. Like, one of the things about Coach K, and look, every coach, every player, you're going to cross a line at some point. It's competitive. I get it. But man, after games, it was pretty rare where he wasn't a good loser. It's pretty damn rare. Like, he comported himself pretty darn well. And I always admired that about him. Win or lose after the game, he had empathy.
I asked Danny Hurley about not taking the Laker job, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, I'm not mature enough. I got to mature. So, like, he's aware. I just think he gets in. And I always find it ironic when coaches, like, you got to comport yourself. You got to stay in the moment. Don't go crazy. And then coaches go crazy. I never understood that Knight wanted discipline out of you, but he couldn't get discipline out of himself.
Exactly. And that's sort of what I was talking about on the accountability point. Sometimes you think about, Will Ferrell in Old School, or not, was it Old School? When he's saying, we got to keep our composure and kind of losing his mind. But look, coaches do that, but I think they can do better, and they should strive to do better and quit making excuses when they don't.
Good to talk to you. We didn't even get to transfer portal month. We didn't get to NIL. Maybe next week we'll hold off and talk about that. Transfer portal starts today, Jay. Crazy.
The coaches portal has been open.
I know.
And nobody's calling for guardrails.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Coaches under contract are getting poached. They have no loyalty, but nobody says that. It's only for the players. We have to worry about that.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Jay Bilas of the Mothership, college basketball analyst there for a long, long time.